is, we sometimes talk about this and this, that. The Indian is here. That's the Nakuda. From time to time, whatever is verstelling, the thin little layer that's covering on a reality, moves away, and we see the emes the way it is. It's not because of these things that's why it is. It's because it is. That's why these things are happening. And the Rebbe, I keep on saying, the more you learn again and again, but the Rebbe told us in the Aleph and in Beis, is that when the Chassidin starts. The Gemara also says the story that was he the one who went and is Gidur Malka, that's the king of Persia, fixed his gartel. And he just simply fixed his gartel. He said, "His kayim bach v'hoyim lachem." At that point, I got a call. At that point, he didn't bow. This mamash.
That was the first stage.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, what did he tell him? Passt nicht, dass das Game nicht strong getan ist, darf zu sein.
Yeah.
He told him, it's inappropriate for you that your gap shouldn't be the proper player. Shivas, understanding that Shivas should be double. Look, there's no question about it that, as the Rabbi said, we're living it. But it's a long process. The process is a little too long. But there is no choice. We got to hang in there, keep on doing what the Rebbe sagt. Today's Shir Tanya is kashrus and maybe karzich masich karzich, right? This is today's Shir Tanya, if you think about it. Right? Think what I think, learn what I learn, do what I do. Like the Rebbe is kashrus to me. Karzich and masich karzich. What's karzich? Gula Mashiach. So this is this kashrus.
Yeah.
So Rabbi Mendy, what do you have on the program?
Rabbi Mendy is the program.
Okay.
Then what we're doing on the program, the session, everybody has to figure out.
maybe I can throw out a thought.
Yeah, for sure.
That we should brainstorm. Usually in New York, the Vada Kinus starts meeting at this time of the year. And they're starting to plan what the Kinus is going to be. Maybe it could be that if we would come with some practical suggestions to them. Maybe if we can think of some practical ideas that we can suggest the kids to do, maybe they'll pick up on it. They're always looking for ideas, they're always looking for something interesting. But it has to be something, a little bit thinking out of the box, not the usual drashes, not machine. I don't know if somebody can think of something that should catch the attention of the people to want to come to the programs. Unfortunately, every year when they make something about Mashiach, although 2 years ago there was much more, I think, than usually. But there's a workshop, there's one speech, there's a this and that. People are tired of it. And unfortunately, not too many people join. And the fact that not too many people join, the Ma'arganim feel there's no point making an effort for it because the people don't join. So it becomes like a vicious cycle. The customer doesn't come because the storekeeper doesn't keep the merchandise. The storekeeper doesn't keep the merchandise because the customer doesn't come. At the end of the day, the store goes bankrupt and the customer doesn't have what he needs. So if we can somehow think of something, if we can think of some kind of out-of-the-box ideas that this should catch the attention of people to want to come to this workshop, want to come to this program, want to come to listen, just like everybody is coming to listen on how to raise funds, although we hear it every year because we hope maybe this year is going to have a new idea, right? So, because this is so how can we create something should be negay b'nafshecha and make it interesting enough for the person to want to come. I'm throwing this out. So many powerful brains sitting around this Zoom. Maybe somebody can think of something and share it, discuss it, develop it.
Sorry, I came late. Is this only for the Kinnis HaShluchim you're talking about, or also for the Kinnis HaMechanchim?
Right now, we're talking about the Kinnis HaShluchim. Kinnis HaMechanchim, I'm not aware of. I don't know.
It's happening right now. I don't know if, meaning they're happening this summer. I don't know if that's
It's already happening.
I think I know there's a woman one happening right after Tisha B'Av, the week after Tisha B'Av, and the men's I'm not sure.
I wasn't aware. But that would definitely be a good idea. If we can come up with something for the Machanchim, I mean, if the most simple thing would be if somebody can come up with a proper curriculum for the schools and for the business, that would be the most beautiful thing. But I don't know if this is feasible. Rabbi, if somebody has some ideas.
No, but thinking now for the Kinnis HaShluchim is a smart thing.
It's now, because this is when they're planning.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it cannot come based on der wird darstellen the best of jener hat gedarstelt. So is gedarstelt, so is gedarstelt. Alles kann mit der Zipper am Daberes. Es bringen them some snagget. A kotler soll kommen reden. I think you just spoke to the Machanchim somewhere, no? It's a kotler spot somewhere. I know this. Anybody knows? Weißt doch, wir können bringen, could be, wir bringen als a zusammen sort Ziel, Zipper am Daberes or Chamoir am Daber, and it's already based on this. Maybe this would be attractive. Maybe. Extra an idea. And just as I think it would be pretty bizarre that we have always been bringing him to the Drusen, so it's going to rain to the Mashiach. But nevertheless, I don't know. It's
Darf man trachten?
okay. Kann man trachten heuer?
I don't know, but I don't
was trachten soll. Anyway, I'm just throwing this out. And I think, I mean, there is nothing that I have, but I know they like to get, if something interesting, they like to get. They're open, they're always open for good ideas. And today, since Baruch Hashem, Mekes 302 became more, Mashiach became an integral part of Mekes 302. So I think if we're going to come with a good idea about Mashiach, it could go. And there's no question about it that something which is promoted, something which is spoken, something which is highlighted at the Kinnos has a Ashpa on the Shluchim. It does have a Ashpa on the Shluchim if it's
definitely.
Ich kann nicht gewollt allem verschreiben. Das ist like, sie gewollen. A tief ist bei ihnen ist.
So, we'll ask, where is he? Sandy Gajzinski should say, should give us an idea. we should have a big Minatzchim group at the Kinnis. We should have a.
I think we should have wegsetzen auf Remmel Shemtov. Zusammen mit Mandy Handel, sie sollen führen den Mashiach Workshop. And then you'll have.
I'll tell you the truth. The MS is the only reason I'm hesitating to have ideas. But Chevra, everybody who's on this, I want to say something. It's very geschmack that that week in, week out, there's a lot of people that attend. But Lomer Redden Tachas auf den Tisch, the fact that there's about 3 or 4 people that unmute themselves and make their voices heard, that's the Shein Nish Beseder. Everybody here should not be spectators and should not be passive. We put our bima in the middle of the shul, not in the front of the shul. Everybody has to be active participants in this group, Chaver. So anybody has an idea, I'll also tell you what Reb Zushe is not mentioning, is kind of going around this, is that the Mashiach campaign office has actually has a foot in the door with the Vada Kinnos, and is actively looking for good ideas that they might be able to present. And other niche, but this is a chance to present something. This is a group of chevra. If you're here on the Minatzchim group, it's a group of chevra that have a vested interest in seeing that Mashiach should become a more a prominent topic and aspect of shluchus. And here is a golden opportunity. So if there's something that has disappointed you in past years at the kinnis, that they could have done a bissel mer, a bissel, about this shluchus ha'ikris, this is the time to speak up. This is the time where your idea can actually get some hechefens. So, Chavre, this is the time to speak up, like the Matzei Shabbos session, or workshops, or a hachlata, something that you can think. Put out ideas. Nobody's sitting here grading you on your contributions. But the bottom line is, if you'll put up an idea, you'll voice an idea. This is the point of the Minatzchim group, is that this should be a place where everybody comes and cheers. So this is right now. And if we're gonna have to call out people by name, we'll call people by name.
You just mentioned something just briefly. You mentioned Matzah Shabbos. If perhaps the being that Matzah Shabbos is the Sudas of David Malka Mashiach, so if the Shlichus Ha'ikris of bringing Mashiach can capture the entire Matzah Shabbos presence event with something interesting, I don't know, you make it really strong. It's like a powerful Mashiach presentation. I don't know, just something to throw out. At least it's not the main session Sunday night, but it's at least amongst the shluchim, it's the primary session where it's not about Balabatim and anybody else. It's about the shluchim.
I actually, for that reason, actually, I find that the Matzei Shabbos Fabring is far more powerful, at least for me. Sunday is where I bring the Balabatim. It became, for whatever reason, Azayda, Sunday is the Chashav Zach, it's the Chalon Laveh of shluchus to the Welt. We have all these Chashav speakers, and it's very polished with the presentations and chulu. Matzei Shabbos is more raw. It's more, I think, more authentic. Lately, they've done a good job in recent years to pick a subject or whatever it is that I think liert on the hearts, not just kind of speech after speech. So I think that in general, it's not like a second. To me, it's not a consolation prize. I think if we can have the whole Matzei Shabbos be about achlatis peilis, a specific type of achlatis that we can take as the ganze mishpachas hashluchim in the Indian of Yaneg Mashiach. Maybe an idea would be that just as the Tut Alts mitzvah was something that was done like kind of the entire anash. Alle Chassidim was untergenommen to learn in Yaneg Mashiach. If there would be a prepared curriculum to teach, I know that JLI did it, but if there would be something with multiple facets and multiple ways on a certain nekuda that all the shluchim take and make a chlata, that every last shliach is going to teach a certain Yaneg Mashiach, a certain prepared chaymer on a Yaneg Mashiach. Every single shliach takes a chlata that maybe they prepare it for campus, they prepare it for C teams, they prepare it for whatever it is, just like the Tutalt Mitzvah did for all different types in the Likra Shabbos mode, in the Sichas in English mode, and the JLI mode, and the kids mode. If they do something like that we learn, as the Tutalt Mitzvah itself said, that you can learn that the Yaneg Mashiach starts at home, Tutalt starts at home. right, it starts at home and then it needs to continue into the world. And so that if the focus of the Matzah Shabbos is this inspirational stories of shluchim that have integrated in Yonagul Mashiach and the powerful impact it had on their kehillah. And then there is a push and a commitment that this presentation about a prepared chaymer and all the different styles that every shliach is all unternehmen to find a way to teach it, either one-on-one, if you're in the schools that you run, in the Hebrew schools.
You're fading out. I don't know if it's only by me.
Sandy, 1 second. Listen, just 1 second. I got the video from Yossi Paltiel. It literally came in a couple seconds ago. So I'm going to play it now. Okay. I'll share the screen. Hold on.
Good morning. I'm doing a pre-record for the shluchim who are called Sturmers, I think. I forgot what your title is. I'm sorry. My memory is as good as it is. Tumlers Kochers, Divas Leben and Yanim Sheikh Geula. And I'm supposed to give you a 15-minute insight or thought about Mashiach. I hope this is what you want, and I hope this is good and correct and useful, inspiring, and maybe the Pel Mamish. So here's what I want to share in the light of Mashiach, in the context of the discussion on B'yas HaMashiach, in the Inyan of Mashiach. We talk a lot about the Rambam's Mashiach. We koch sich very much on the Rambam's Mashiach. And the reason we do that is because the Rebbe koch so much of the Rambam's Mashiach. The Rambam's Mashiach, of course, is the Mashiach in Halacha, and Torah and Yiddishkeit follows Halacha. So the Rambam's Mashiach is from a practical angle the most important one for us to discuss. And of course, as you know, the Rambam's Mashiach is not about miracles, it's not about a change of nature. It's about Torah and mitzvahs, or the famous lashon that the Rebbe uses in the Sicha from Chelik Ches in Balak, Shleimus HaTorah VaMitzvah, which means in practical terms the following. Mashiach means that if this world belongs to God, He has to show Himself to be its master. If the Eibishter created the world and He controls the world should go as He wants. Mashiach, in a sentence, is a world governed by what the Eibishter wants, which means that people live, they're born, they die, they grow up, they raise children, and they follow the Torah. The Yidden follow their 613 mitzvahs, and the Goyim Lahavdil follow their Sheva mitzvahs b'nei ner. That's what Mashiach is. Now, of course, the argument is, this is even in the Rambam, that if and when people follow the Torah, so automatically the world becomes a better place simply by people's behavior. There's no theft, there's no deception, there's no poverty. So the world becomes a better place, and as the world becomes a better place and people are able to live better lives, they're able to become more ruchnistic, more spiritual, as the Rambam discusses at length in the Laws of Tshuva, chapter 9, Perek Tes, that the Yehudim Gashmim, the physical rewards that are described in Torah, are not the schar. The schar is Elam Haba, but the Yehudim Gashmim put us in a position, which of course is going to happen after Mashiach comes, where we're able to be pnuyim b'teiro b'chachmasol, we're free to learn Torah and do mitzvahs, and this is true again, not only of Yidden, but also lahavdil of all of mankind. In the kiyum of Sheva mitzvahs b'nei ner, when you live in a better world, you're able to serve Hashem better, as the Rambam writes in the beginning of Perek Daled of Hilchas Deis. As you know, I'm sure that there's a big machlokes amongst Balei Musar. If having a good Gashmiistic life interferes with Torah Aveda, or it supports Torah Aveda, so there is a hashkafa that says, Tuk for the Gufa Chosha the Nishmasa, Tuk for the Nishmasa Chosha the Gufa, which means that if a person wants to be very spiritual, he has to be materially deprived. But the Rambam disagrees with this Shita. The Rambam says that for a person to be healthy and safe and secure and have what they need, helps them serve the Eibishter. And of course the Baal Shem Tov obviously goes in this derech, because he holds Ozev Tazev Imei, that the guf, even though it's Seinacha, you're not allowed to destroy it, you have to work with it. So La'asad Lave, life is going to be materially good, and the material goodness of the life we're going to have is going to create opportunity to be pnoyim b'teira b'chachmasa, and we're going to reach very high levels in edelkeit, and in bidur amidus, and in deis nechenis, and in yedias Hashem, kedei sheyizku l'chayah elam haba, that we should merit to have elam haba. And this is true of Yidden, and it's true also of Goyim. This is basically the position of the Rambam. Now, one more detail I want to add on the Rambam, which is the idea of Tchias HaMesim. The Rambam holds that Tchias HaMesim is a part of Yemei Mashiach, not elam haba. So everything that the Rambam is saying, that the Yehudim Gashmim, the physical promises, give us opportunity to be pnuyim b'teira b'chachmasa, to learn and to daven and to serve Hashem better, to be mevarer amidus and to develop deis nechenes and to be a deis Hashem k'fikei ha'adam. Kedei sheyizku l'chayah elam haba will apply even to those people who had lived and died, that they have tchias hamesim in Yemei Mashiach. And even though during the second guf of Yemei Mashiach there's going to be nisim, and maybe even shinim in Hagesh Oleilam, but it's still going to be a world of Bechira Chof, of free will. We do not say about Yemei Mashiach, even the second kufa, according to the Rambam. Yomem shein bem chayfetz. So they're also going to be pnuyim b'teira b'chachmasa, and they're going to achieve v'estach midas tevis and deis nechenes and yasigu das beidem k'fikei ha'adam kedei sheyizku l'chayah elam haba. This is basically the picture of Mashiach that the Rambam paints. And this is the picture of Mashiach that we know from the Rebbe's Siches that paint the Rambam's painting on what Mashiach is. I want to speak to something else also, I suppose. And that is the Mashiach in Chassidus. Mashiach in Chassidus is Yechida, right? The Rebbe brings it in the Inyan Shoteres HaChassidus that it says in Ramaz that there are 5 neshamas klolius, 5 general souls, that David HaMelech is nefesh, Eliyahu is ruach, Moshe is neshama, Adam Rishon is chaya, and Mashiach Zakenu is yechida. He's the yechida klolis. And of course, you famous, the Chernobyl of art, v'yiskayim bar miksheh kosov v'nochal of ruach hadeshem, that every Jew has a nitzitz of Mashiach, and so on and so forth. So what's yechida? What is it about yechida that connected to Mashiach? What's distinctive about it? What's unique about it? So I just want to share one insight. What's unique about Yechida is that there's no opposition to Yechida. There's no Zel Umazeh in the Madrega of Yechida. In the wording of the Gemara, which the Maimorim bring, Bua de Bua Leslahu. Bua, which means a shadow or a makif, Klipa has, a shade has. But Bua de Bua, a makif of a makif, a shade Klipa does not have. So the explanation is that the Madrega of Chaya, you have Zel Umazeh Kedusha against Klipa, and the Madrega of Yechida, there is no Zel Umazeh. Now, of course, we are, deaf, dumb, and blind, and many of us would add to that sentence, thank God, we're Anoshim Pshutim, we do not know what's happening in the Ilmis Halyenim, we don't understand the Ruchni struggles. So we're Tamim Tiem Hashem Elekecha, we do what we do, based on what we're told, without trying to find the roots and the causes and the sources for all the things that are going on. But the Mitzuki Eretz, Amudei Yoilam, the Tzadikim, the Rabbeim, the Nesiim, they know what's going on in the Ilmis Halyenim. And they understand very acutely, very strongly, the Zel Umazah Salakim. And throughout history, the Gedali Yisrael, for lack of words, picked their battles. Why didn't they koch in Mashiach 1,000 years ago and 1,500 years ago? V'chulu, they were in Golos. It's not because they lacked an emunah in Mashiach. It's because they appreciated the time they were in. And it was not yet the time. Even the Rebbe Rashab in the Teres Sholem, when he brings the famous story with Napoleon, he writes that the Polish Rebbe's, and in one of the Rebbe's letters, the Rebbe writes, Yesh Evim Shohaya Magid Mikozhnitz. The Koznitz of Magid was the Alter Rebbe's Bad Plukta, about this question of whether Alexander, Russia should win the war, in which case it'll be better for Yidden Beruchnius, but it'll be harder for Yidden for Gashmias. Or Bonaparte, as the Alter Rebbe called him. The Alter Rebbe didn't call him Napoleon, the Rebbe called him Bonaparte. Will win the war, in which case it'll be better for Yidden Begashmias and worse for Yidden Beruchnius. And parenthetically, there's a long letter from the Mittel Rebbe written to the Mesha Meisels describing the events of those months when the Alter Rebbe was running from Bonaparte, from Napoleon. And the Mittel Rebbe writes that the Alter Rebbe described this man not as a Democrat, but as a bloodlustful person. The Alter Rebbe, if you read the description, it sounds literally the way you and I would describe Hitler. That his whole shtick of being a nice guy and trying to help people and liberalize the world, this was really not who he was. He really was a man of war and conquest, and he didn't mind killing people to entertain himself with the games of international war. But putting that aside, the Rebbe Rashab writes in Teres Sholem that the Machlekes was really when the Mashiach is coming then. They felt that they could bring Mashiach at that time through the exercise of Tzadi B'Menosa Yichya, Al Tikei Yichya Eli Yechaye, and the Alter Rebbe knew Bebirur that noch der kommen the Zeit. The Alter Rebbe, that's Teres Sholem. The Alter Rebbe knew for sure it's not the time of Mashiach, and if it's not yet the time of Mashiach, Bonaparte cannot win because it'll bring the Churm. And that's why he davened that Alexander, that the Russians should win. And throughout history, the tzaddikim, who really know what's going on, are Isaac and Birudim. And the Birudim happen on every level. Nefesh against Nefesh, Ruach against Ruach, Neshama against Neshama, and Chaya against Chaya. We don't understand all of this. We obviously do not appreciate how these things play out historically. And we certainly don't appreciate how we see these victories in ourselves, because the way we look at ourselves, we feel like we have all the chesrenos of the generations before plus more, but it's actually not that way, because much of the bidur has been accomplished, or all of the bidur has been accomplished. So we're smaller people and we have nisyonis, but the reality of klipa, of evil in the world as an entity, the tzaddikim over the course of the ages, through their avodah and through the hadracha that they gave the people that were attached to them, they were mavarer all of these inyanim. And the last bidur is Mashiach. But the bidur of Mashiach is a bit of a different kind of a bidur than the other kind of bidurim. Ubehegdim. Let me preface first by saying this. Before you go to Yechida, let's talk about Chaya. There's a very big difference between the Mulchama of Nefesh B'Nefesh and Ruach B'Ruach and Neshama B'Neshama, Naran and Chaya. And the difference is because Nefesh is in the Guf. So the Nefesh of the Nefesh of Lekis and the Nefesh of the Nefesh are fighting over the same space. In the language of Tanya Perik Tes, Ir Ktana Zu Aguf. And the same is true Ruach, that the Ruach is Midas, and the Midas of the Nefesh of Lekis want to excite you in one direction. The Midas of the Nefesh of Hamas want to excite you in a different direction. And they meet in the heart, so they're fighting over a space. And the same is true in the Neshama B'Neshama, the Seichel of Nefesh of Lekis, which has Bittel, and the Seichel of Nefesh Habahamis, which has Yeshus, but they're both Seichel, are trying to take over the space of the Moyach of the person. Each wants that its Derech, its Shita, its Hashkafa should dominate the space of the person's mind, and they're fighting over a space. And because they're fighting over a space, the fight is direct. It's a Bida B'Derech Eslapshus. They fight like two wrestlers. But Chaya is different. Even though the Eivisha created Chaya of Kedusha and Chaya of L'Umazeh, it's hard to define what it is. Because it's Pashat Chutzpah, it's Amalek. It's fighting for a cause that's not going to get you any good, but it'll destroy somebody else's good. That's I don't know how else to explain it. There's no place in the Guf that represents Chaya. So they don't fight directly. They don't have the direct conflict. They both make noise, and they make noise on a level which is higher than Seichel. And they never ever confront each other directly. But the more a person listens to one, the less he listens to the other. Or to say it in different words, on the Madreg of Chaya, the inyanim that you have from your neshama on the Madreg of Chaya can never be changed. If you have a moon on the Madreg of Chaya, it can never be changed. If you have Simcha on the Madreg of Chaya, it can never be taken away from you. If you have Avos Yisrael, the Madreg of Chaya, it can never be taken away from you. but it could be forgotten. It can become verschlafen. It can become distracted. Because the Chai of Liyumazeh will take you in a different direction. In the Madregas of Naran, the Seich of Nefesh HaBahamis can actually cancel the Seich of Nefesh HaLakiyas. And the same is true in Midas, and the same is true in Hidah, in Bittel. But on the Madrega of Chaya, one cannot defeat the other, destroy the other. They can only make the other be forgotten as it relates to the goof. That if a person pays attention to the Chai of Nefesh HaLakiyas, he doesn't hear the Chai of Nefesh HaBahamis. And the more he allows the Chai of the Nefesh HaBahamis to emerge, the Chai of Nefesh HaLakiyas, all your beliefs are the same. Every ashkafa you had from your Nefesh HaLakiyas and all of the attitudes and priorities and principles that you had from your neshama never go away, but they become quieted. They lose their ratzon. They don't have any energy, and they're not able to fight, and so forth and so on. So this is the difference between Aran and Chaya. That's got the Yechidah. The reason Mashiach has such a big deal is because there's no liyumaz. In other words, Yechidah, Mashiach's a person, a boss of Adam, who comes into this world and brings it a Makeach Eliki that's higher than other Medishan, that's never been in the world before. And this Keach Eliki is so strong. Now we're speaking the Hasidic angle, not the halachic angle. Is so powerful that nobody stands up to him. Nothing stands up to him. Now, that doesn't mean that no one's going to come out against him. In my imaginings, Mashiach is going to come and the United Nations is going to condemn him like 5 times in the first week and 10 times in the second week. And then members of the United Nations are going to start to die, so they're going to forget to come to the votes. But it's not going to have any koyach. There's going to be opposition to Mashiach, but it's going to be a koyla l'nidav. It's not going to be a real thing that has to be feared and reckoned with and dealt with. You know, v'ra'isa b'chochmasecha, or v'asisa b'chochmasecha. It's going to be nothing. So the struggle of Mashiach is different than the other struggles. The struggle is not once Mashiach comes, it's the struggle for Mashiach to come. And this, of course, explains why the Inyan, what Rebbe called 30 years ago now, Kabbalah's name Mashiach Tzedkeinu B'Peil Mamish, is such a big deal. The Rebbe said in the summer of Nunalef, and the Rebbe then explained, of course, that as individual people, there's plenty of birur to do, but the birur needed, in other words, the things in the world that truly oppose Kedusha, that have a real power, have been eliminated. There's still klipa in the world. A lot of people would argue there's more klipa in the world now than ever. But, according to what the Rebbe is saying, if Kedusha would push back, you would see that it has no teikif. It has no chayas. It's weakness. It's Yetzirah. It's noch gebenzech. It's this. Whatever's easier, I want. Whatever is quicker, I want. Whatever gives me more pleasure, I want. But if you stand up to it, so when it's a real klipa, it has a koyach. It fights. And when the klipa has been nisbated, it falls. You just need to stand up to it. But the inyan of Kabbalah's Mashiach Tzedkeinu, which is so long in coming, which is not happening l'cha'oira. His galus. We don't see the Kabbalah's Mashiach Tzedkeinu B'Peil Mamish. Is not about the milchama between Teva and Ra, because Yechida has no le'umah. So it's about bringing Mashiach into the world, not so much about the fight between Teva and Ra in the world. And you could imagine what kind of effort it must take if you consider the fact that there's no Zel Yomazeh against Yechida. And this is what you have in the Maimorim, which is brought from Zohar and from Tanakh, that there's something called Chevlei Mashiach, the Chevlei Leid of Mashiach, and parenthetically the Rebbe said that the Holocaust is a Chevlei of Mashiach. The Rebbe never said that the Holocaust is Gog Magog, but the Frierdiker Rebbe said that the Holocaust is the Chevlei Leid of Mashiach. And they bring in the Svarim, it says in the middle of Rebbe in Shalei Amuna, I think, that there's an ayol, a deer, that's called an oifer, Aleph Peiresh, Aleph Vav Peiresh. He needs an emed akas leina mashkiach. He dem meded letzil oifer hayolim, that the rachmat tsar, that the rechem, that the passageway through which the babies have to be born is not big enough for the babies to be born. And there's gefellach tzari chevle leida. And there's a special scorpion, a darkoin, which the Eibishter gave a special sgula, that it stings the mother, the oifer, and it relaxes the muscles, and the baby is able to be born. And this is a mashal for the Chelilei of Mashiach. That when it comes to Mashiach, it's not about a fight of Tev and Ra, it's simply about the union of Kabbalah's name Mashiach Tzidkenu, and he has to be brought into the world against the fact that the world is not able to hold him. And that's called the Chelilei of Mashiach. Or to come at it from a different angle, like it says in the Minatzchim in Mini Melech, based on the Gemara, that just like David HaMelech is about Nafla, Mashiach is also about Nafla. The Melech is supposed to die in birth, because the neshama like David HaMelech has no place in this world, and the fancy is so much bittul can't exist, and that's why he has to take years from Adam Rishon, from Avraham, from Yankov, from Yosef. And what's Lashon HaPasuk? Chayim shal mumcha nasatalei yomim satalei something oirech yomim. This Pasuk Gemara says this is Mashiach asking for years. It's the same principle, because the neshama of Mashiach is so powerful, and the neshama of Mashiach is so singular that b'derech hateva such a neshama cannot exist in this world. And this is the avodah of Kabbalah's name Mashiach Tzidkenu to push this through. And of course, the important thing is Hamaisahu Ha'ikir, a practical side to all of this. And the Rebbe has given us many instructions about how this should be done, including the idea of demanding Mashiach Tzidkenu. Demanding Mashiach. I spoke once when we had the 24-hour day that the Rebbe spoke 4 things that we can do to bring Mashiach. 4 examples, 4 in Yonim. Number 1, to demand Mashiach, to be Teveya Mashiach. Mashiach's not going to come if not with Teveya. Number 2, that la'olam yira adam atzmei shakal v'chol ha'olam kulei shakal also ma'isa achas, diber achas, machshava achas hechriya asatzmei v'chol ha'olam kulei kas chus mei v'lei lehem v'yeshua v'atzala. That the person has to appreciate that Mashiach comes from one action. Number 3, what the Rebbe spoke in Pashas Kisei Tavshin Memches, that the Rebbe said b'chonini no bezois, that we tried everything and we never tried the idea of simcha b'taharas as a means of bringing Mashiach. And number 4, the Nyan of Limud in Yoni Gula Mashiach. We want Mashiach now.
Okay, Rabbi Paltiel. So, Sandy, you're back. I cut you off.
Yeah.
I cut you off for 21 minutes. Now,
No. So I was actually just winding down. First of all, Yeshikech. I think that's. Thank you for getting that piece. It was very, very insightful and a lot of information to process. So the Mashiach nicht kein Pasha Zach. But the bottom line is that again, the point of these groups is not for everybody to sit and be quiet, but to share ideas. If Taka, let's say that there is a possibility that the Motzei Shabbos program can be geared towards in Yom Mashiach and Hachlatas Peilis in that regard, taken by Mishpachas HaShluchim. Everybody should share ideas. I shared a thought that I had in terms of kind of a tut alt effort that goes in the from the Shluchim outward to the Kehilas, Yanagul Mashiach taken on by the Shluchim outward. But if anybody else has any other ideas of things that could be done, this is the time. Have a share, and the word that will be able to give to the Mashiach campaign office some ideas for them to then include in terms of in the conversation.
Okay, I have an idea. I know everyone was learning about Yom Mashiach. How do we make it practical? How do we make it practical for shluchim, the family? I think that's a problem. I see it with my family. They don't see it as, I explain it to them, but I think if you have Mishalom, if you have a nice, beautiful presentation in the same Eifen that they made Tut Alts, to make the case how shluchim can see it, how it's actually happening around us. Like Rabbi Wolf sent out these videos and all these things, what happened with the president and things like that. How do we have to start, I think, teaching ourselves, again, understanding how it's actually.
And Isaac, you have to go back into the other room that you were in before. You had a better connection.
Oh, you hear me now? So basically, how do we make, you hear me now? You hear me?
Sometimes, a little bit.
You hear me? Hello, hello?
It says your network bandwidth is low. We got to get you connected.
Okay. Shaila, is we have to hear me or not?
Yeah.
So basically, I was saying is, how do we make the case that we should understand that it's actually happening? It's a thing it's happening. I think if we put our heads together, like Rabbi Wolf was bringing the mashal with the. He always brings mashalim, and not mashalim. It's actually things happening. Like you have put together a video, but if you have like a comprehensive, case to make a case for the shluchim, they should understand it. And in other words, to what's the word, what the word is? Word is to
incorporate.
Not incorporate. How do you mechanech yourself to educate yourself to start looking at the world? That's an actuality. That's actually happening. Not only shluchim, but you understand what I'm saying?
Well, it starts with us. If we do it,
your kids, families. Do they know? They feel and see that's actually happening in the world, and they should come. Huh? You hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we're good.
This looks good. Weiter.
If we can
there's so many things they can bring now. There's so many things that are happening that actually happen and are happening. How do we educate ourselves and educate our families to start looking that way? Which means Rabbi says, that's basically what it means.
Rabbi Mendy is embarrassed to speak about himself, but he has powerful topics on exactly that. How we see in the world, the world transforming into a Geuladic world. The problem is, it's not made available or easily accessible to everyone. Somehow we have to find a vehicle, a medium to all this phenomenal information which is out there. They exist. There is. If we can get somehow all this information out there to the shluchim on a regular basis, not to bombard them with the whole thing, but let's say there could be every week a short example, either in the video or in print or something. These things are there. And they give you an example. Mandy has a lot of this stuff. Reuven does a lot of these things. In Eretz Yisrael, it comes out in New York too. The Geula magazine, right? Okay, but the Mashiachisten are giving it out. Okay, it comes out with the Yechi sign on it. But there's every week, sometimes better, sometimes a little far-fetched, but there is constantly something in the world where Mashiach is manifesting itself. So if somehow we can get this out to the shluchim, here is your answer. It's there. It's available. We don't have to create it. It's just a matter of distribution.
So let me let's
it has to be done. I think. Hold on. It has to be done in different levels. The shliach has to be in his level. Then it has to be brought down by the kids' level, and then the Balabatim also have to understand it. It has to be different levels. But it's out there and it can be done. If it's done in a professional way, there's nothing like it. You see it and it's happening. Anyways.
No question that it would be good to spoon feed everybody, but I think when we're talking to shluchim, right, we can use the concept of Tel Chacham B'Yachkem Oit, right? I would trust that the shlich, if you give him an idea, he will find already words and how to present it even to different people. And Tomanish, Adarabah. But I'm saying we got used to it with being spoon-fed every tiny little thing. But we shouldn't wait for that. If we can find a distribution system to Klal Shluchim, that would be a very powerful tool.
So as I'm hearing what we're talking about, what we could do with that Matzah Shabbos is if we can create 2 or 3 components to be the presentation of that Matzah Shabbos that will create a Maisa B'Poil for Adas HaShluchim over the year that will propel Mashiach into everybody's shluchos. So for instance, one idea is that you mentioned, Sandy had mentioned, the idea of creating a tut alt kind of a learning thing that could be, maybe between Yutas Kislev and Yud Shvat. It can be a couple of weeks of a major education campaign coming for shluchim themselves and to give in their Chabad houses. So that's like a powerful learning. Included in that, or in addition to that, as mentioned, opening up your eyes. So you take a couple of people, I don't mind contributing whatever I can, Mendy, what I'm sure can do. We'll take a couple of chevra that have been speaking on these things and create material. We don't even have to create the material. We just have to maybe give it to the people who will maybe take it and make it fancier, but we'll put it out week after week. Stuff going on, even just, there's so much chaymer already that has been done before, put out there, and these things could be sent out to shluchim so that it continues. It helps people feel Mashiach as a current. It's not just enough to learn what the Rambam says then, but people should be living with a current. And I also think that Dubov's new book, Universal, he can be one of the presenters of Matzah Shabbos. That's like Isakin Olam. That's the universal one. So the whole Matzah Shabbos then becomes all about a massive push by all shluchim to drive the Geula home this year. And I think after the
I'm sorry for interrupting, but maybe even bring chevra, like even have the goyim, people that know what's happening in the UN, things, or other people, not Truma Yidden. I'm just saying, people that know in the field what's happening, and in the U.S. Army, what's happening in the Army, what's happening, what they're developing. I know this guy, what's his name, Rabbi, the professor. He does the Yitzchak every summer. He does Rabbi Silman. Rabbi Silman. I don't know if anyone knows him.
Yeah,
so he brings different. It's unbelievable things. What's happening in the world? They're making now like different. It's called a bomb. They take different seeds and sand and earth, and they go out with an airplane and they throw it out. They call it bombs, and meanwhile, what does it do? It plants trees. Things like this. People don't know. It's going. It's unbelievable things. There's a whole. They're saying there's a whole. Talk to him as a professor. You know what I'm talking about? What's his first name? Dr. Stillman.
Rabbi Estrin just put it up his website.
Yeah, it's tons of things. He doesn't have to talk about it, but he can get someone else to talk about it. Get someone else from the army. A guy come out with a whole suit with, 4-star general. There's so many things to do.
I think that to me, to cause a paradigm shift with your Kehillah on the Indian of Mashiach is 2 aspects. Number one is, as we're talking about, to show how it's here and now, and really kind of like I think JLI synthesized a lot of what Mendy Rubenfeld has prepared and presented over the years into the first lesson of this most recent JLI course on Yom Mashiach, which was really to show by the statistics, kind of from a science perspective, how just from the straight up pragmatic facts and statistics, how the nevuos of all the neviim over the course of history are coming into fruition as we speak. But the second thing I think is, you just mentioned it, how Dubov, that Mashiach is the central tentpole of Gans Yiddishkeit and Gans Brias Ha'olam. It's not an extra. It's not a side thing. It's not a nice hope and aspiration that when times are down, we Jews look towards a brighter future and the light at the end of the tunnel. It is the reason the world was created from the get-go, and we're heading in this trajectory. And it is the common denominator about every mitzvah that we do. Every time we wrap tefillin on the yid, every time you put a penny into the pushka, it is to move the world closer to its goal. And I think these are the 2 nekudas that have to be ingrained not only into every shliach psyche, but in their ability to articulate outward. That A, this is what it's all about from day one. B, we're right there. We're done. I mean, we're at the end zone, and if it's articulated in clear verite, so that really that the goal of whatever it is that we should do should be to drive home these two nekudas. Mashiach is not a zaytik ezach; it's the central point, not just of Yiddishkeit, but of Gans Brias Olam, and all the proofs and all the whatever it is that we bring on that, and that two, it's happening now. And there's enough material. If we took, for example, that first JLI lesson and gave it a little bit more than just the 90 minutes or whatever it is, the JLI officially, a little bit more than that, and fleshed it out with and Fakat, they took Mendy's vast work and they consolidated it to 90 minutes. I think you have to open it back up a bit and really make it full featured, add a little bit more to it, et cetera, et cetera. And then also this Nakuda, and to really just, hone the message that this is Gans Brias, this is everything. This is really everything. In the form of Yidden and to Shluchim, that we have to stop thinking about Mashiach as a hope, as an aspiration, but as what we've been working towards since day one, since Brias Ta'ala. And if those two nekudas can be, that becomes an extremely powerful. I've said this often, but that ends up underpinning everything we're doing on Shluchas, the whole reason of Yiddishkeit, why you're telling somebody that their little wrapping of tefillin in their little corner of the world matters, even if it doesn't mean anything specifically to them. I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I'm going all Magid over here, but when I was in Simcha Monica on 3rd Street Promenade, which is, for those that know, it's a place, it's a pedestrian street, there's a lot of street shows and shops and whatever it is, and it's a great place to do tefillin because people cannot say they're rushing to business if they're walking down 3rd Street Promenade. So you're getting people to put on tefillin. So I get a yid and I tell this yid, would you like to put on tefillin? No, that's not his thing. Yada, yada, yada. And just a spark, because California has all causes. I said, but don't you understand? Today is International Tefillin Day. Thousands of Jews around the world are putting on tefillin day today. Oh, okay. So, because thousands of Jews around the world are putting on tefillin today and every day. But people like being attached to a global effort. My little mitzvah here is linked to a bigger thing. Well, that's the truth of it. And if we would articulate it as such, that every mitzvah you do is a step in is a concrete step forward to what it's all about. It adds meaning to everything that we're doing. It underpins the ganze Shlichus, it underpins ganz Yiddishkeit, it underpins ganz Brias Olam. We're on one cohesive track. That together with those 2 points, really, if you just synthesize those 2 points to the average shliach, and from the average shliach out to the Welt, it's a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift to your kehillah.
It's called Yechida. That's what Rabbi Paltiel was talking about.
Yes.
But it needs partially, and I think this is what Rabbi Binyamin was saying, it needs concrete tools. We can talk about it and be very, very passionate about it, and everybody will be convinced that this is it. Now that after Birkes Hamazon from the Nava Malka, and he goes home, he says, and now what? How do I do this? And I think, therefore, it is very important if the kinders will accept this idea, we should ask them that the first, series of shiurim in the learning aspect should be distributed by them. The first examples of how it is manifested in the world. You're going to be getting every month, you're going to get in your email, you're going to get a package of 4 for 4 weeks. Right now, here is the first one. How? The trees are falling from the world, the blinds are starting to see, the deaf are starting to hear, and those who shouldn't speak, keep on speaking. And started talking, I'm sorry. What's the problem? What's the problem? That they never closed them. But so that's the problem of it. But if younger light go away with something in hand, then I would say another thing. If we can remember a number of years back, there was a revival about Mivtzoim. New brochures, and every Chabad should have a whole beautiful display of the Mivtzoim, and we should get, I don't remember which year it was. It's 1 year that the kinnis was focused on Mivtzoim, which was beautiful. But if we can, at the kinnis, Show, let's say, a few examples, a brand new brochure on Miftzat Film. The Rebbe says, in other words, as he just said, join the global effort in revealing to welcome Mashiach by putting on tefillin. Find the words. And the same thing is Miftzat Mezuzah, and the same thing, a series of brochures that a person has with him to be able to give. I would say another thing. Every shliach should have a business card. We all have business cards? Some have, okay? We have something that when you meet something, you leave in his hand. I remember when we used to go Mecca, Shlichus Rav Chadakov always used to say that the reason for selling this forum is not about the money that it's making, but it's about leaving something the person can keep in his hand. Has it ever happened that we met someone and the guy wanted to know a little bit more, Chamushgat was together? So I would give him right then an address to a email, a website address, a thought, something. Our business cards, the back of the business card should have a Mashiach message. All the shluchim around the world have the same message, same idea in whatever language. We give them something concrete. This way, when Matzah Shabbos, when we go away and we get prepared to the main event of the kinnus, the Sunday biscuit, whatever it is, and we should go away with something concrete. Then I think we can create, as Sandy correctly said, this paradigm shift. It's concrete, it's real, it's here. It's not another thing. We now get excited and we will send you. We've been hearing this for the last 10 years. No, here it is. This is what you're going to get. And that would be a thing, I think, very powerful.
Reb Zushe, for some reason, when you speak, there's an echo. So I don't know if you could do something. There's like a little voice that comes through also with your voice. Sandy, say it again.
No, just saying, 100%. I think in general, Matzah Shabbos, it's actually a lost opportunity. I see once in a while they do it, but to have something, to have the chaver walk away with, in their hands. Again, I really do believe that Matzah Shabbos, most of the shluchim are conditioned now, but that's going to be the time where they're getting their kind of closed-stick inspiration. Shabbat, Friday night, and Fabrengens, that's everybody, everybody to themselves, class or whatever it is, and the workshops. But Matzah Shabbos is when we're all sitzen zusammen, and you get the kind of a specific inspiration. And if we have this, and you're walking away with something in your hand that you can get excited about, I think that's striking when the iron's hot. So if we put some, something can be put together, let's put it that way. Something can be put together with a reel that is tied to a specific achlata, and then you're giving it to them in their hands, and they're walking away with it. It's, I think, a very, and so the average shliach is kind of looking through it on their bus ride back, and they can start getting excited about it. And say, this is something I would actually like to do. That is going to have the biggest chance of.
So who's going to do it, Sandy? Who's going to do this? It has to be us. There's no one else.
Well. First of all, I mean, obviously, all these will be Mitzvah presented to the Mashiach campaign office. The Mashiach campaign office then has to present it to the VAD. The VAD then has to see if this is something that is compelling enough. And I think if we have more, that this is the point of this is chaver. There's chaver here. The shluchim here are the most passionate and perhaps the most experienced shluchim of Inyan Mashiach vis-a-vis their shluchas. That's why they're on this in this group, etc., etc. And so this is a wide spectrum of shluchim who can each, speak to ideas that they think would resonate A, with other shluchim, B, have been successful in their own shluchas. Is the idea of making achlata that we prepare something, a chaymer, prepared chaymer, and again, and like the total mitzvah that all the shluchim sign on and commit to teaching to their balabatim in one sense or another, and you give them the first package of it, like the first pamphlet of the total mitzvah, or like what are some concrete ideas? The more compelling you make it, trust me, the way it works with Avada Kinnis is they're not looking for extra work. If something is given to them, an idea is fully fleshed out, it's compelling, it's strong, that is the best argument for them to run with it, because that means it's taken care of, it's good, it's strong, it's solid, Muchen Bezumen. So that's, I think, one of the things we should think about is what kind of package can we help provide the Mashiach office that they can then provide to the Vad Hakinus that would give this the best chance of being what they actually do.
Basically, what you're saying is somebody should write down all these ideas and give it to the Mishkiach office and for them to digest it and see how they take it further. And if they need help, they'll come back. And if we can come up with help of creating these packages, adarabah. I would maybe also throw in.
And they took the tutals and they fleshed it out and did incredible work. So that's what it is. They got the team, they got the resources. We can give the inspiration and the direction. And there we go. If they take to it, but we should give them. But the presentation should be strong. So we probably need to fine tune what we've been talking about. This was just the chachma. We got to take it to the bina and really think about the package that we want to create for a Motzei Shabbos program, a full-fledged package, and it will be so compelling.